The doors sealed behind me with a hiss, and 9 pairs of eyes turned toward me at once. My heart was already pounding before I took a single step into that room. I had been given no warning, no briefing, only an order chip and a location. Now I understood why nobody wanted this posting. My name is Ethan Hale, and 12 hours earlier, I had disobeyed a direct order from Queen Vantha herself. I broke formation during a rescue operation to save 3 crew members who were about to be left behind. It worked. Nobody died. But the Queen does not forgive broken orders, even successful ones. "You will report to the Talon unit," she told me, her voice calm and cold at the same time. "They do not fail missions. They do not forgive weakness. And they do not want you there." I thought she was sending me to be punished. I did not yet understand that she was sending me somewhere far more dangerous than any battlefield. The room I stood in now was the training deck of the Talon unit, a group of elite female soldiers, known across the fleet for one thing: nobody outside their ranks had ever lasted more than a single day among them. I had heard the stories on every ship I served on. Officers sent there for discipline either quit within hours or vanished from active duty records entirely. A tall woman stepped forward from the group, her eyes studying me the way a hunter studies unfamiliar tracks. Her name was Lyra Voss, the commander of the unit, and she did not offer a greeting. "The Queen's problem," she said, looking me up and down. "We did not ask for you." "I was not given a choice either," I said, keeping my voice steady even though my chest felt tight. She turned to the others without responding to me directly. "Positions," she said, and the room shifted. I did not understand what was happening until it was already too late to leave. The 8 other women spread out around me in a wide circle, closing the space between us and the exits. I was surrounded, completely, with nowhere to retreat and no one behind me to help. "This is the evaluation," Lyra said. "Every outsider who has ever stood where you are standing now has failed it. Most quit before it even finishes." "What exactly am I being evaluated for?" I asked, trying to keep my breathing controlled. "Whether you break," she said simply. I did not get another explanation. The lights above the circle dimmed, and a low hum filled the deck, the kind of hum that meant the gravity plating was about to shift. My stomach dropped as the floor beneath me tilted, slow at first, then faster, until the entire circle of soldiers around me was standing on a surface that curved like the inside of a sphere. I had trained in shifting gravity chambers before, but never with 8 strangers moving around me at the same time, each one testing my balance from a different angle. The first woman moved toward me without warning, quick and precise, and I barely caught myself before losing my footing completely. I stumbled to the side, straight into the path of a second soldier, who redirected me effortlessly toward a third. I realized within seconds that this was not a fight. It was a current, and I was being pulled through it whether I wanted to go or not. "Stay upright," Lyra called from somewhere behind me. "That is the only rule." I do not know how many times I lost my balance in the next few minutes. The gravity kept shifting, the circle kept moving, and every time I thought I had found stable ground, someone redirected me again. My arms ached from bracing myself. My legs burned from constantly correcting my stance, and still, the circle did not open. At one point, I fell hard onto the tilted floor, sliding several feet before catching a raised edge with my hand. For a moment, I lay there, breathing heavily, staring up at the shifting lights above me. Every instinct told me to stay down, to let the test end, to accept that I had lost like everyone before me. Instead, I pushed myself back up. Nobody cheered, nobody offered a hand. But I noticed something small in that instant. The pace of the test changed. It became sharper, faster, more demanding, as if my getting back up had earned me a harder version of the same challenge rather than mercy. A woman named Mira caught my shoulder and spun me toward the center of the circle, and I barely kept my footing as the floor dropped at a steep angle beneath me. I threw my weight low, dug my heels into the shifting surface, and somehow stayed standing. Another soldier, quicker than the rest, tested me from the opposite direction, and I twisted just enough to avoid going down completely, though I stumbled hard enough to bite back a groan. The circle tightened around me again. I could feel the heat of exhaustion building behind my eyes, my muscles screaming with every correction, every twist, every desperate attempt to stay upright on a floor that refused to stay still. I had no idea how long this had been going on. Time had stopped meaning anything the moment the gravity first shifted. Then, without warning, the floor leveled out and the lights returned to their normal brightness. The hum faded into silence. I stood in the center of the circle, soaked in sweat, chest heaving, barely able to keep my legs from shaking. Lyra stepped forward, studying me with an expression I could not quite read. "You are still standing," she said. "Barely," I admitted, my voice rough. "Nobody stays standing through the full cycle," she said. "Not on their first attempt. Most give up within the first minute." I looked around at the circle of women who had spent the last several minutes trying to knock me down from every possible angle, and I realized none of them looked disappointed. If anything, there was something close to respect in the way they watched me now. "Why does it matter if I stay standing?" I asked, still trying to catch my breath. "What does that prove?" "It proves you do not quit when the outcome looks impossible," Lyra said. "That is the only thing that matters out here. Not strength, not skill. Whether you keep moving forward when everything around you is trying to knock you down." I thought about the Queen's words before she sent me here. "I do this because the Talon unit does not suffer men who think obedience matters more than the people in front of them." I had not fully understood what she meant until that moment. "So this was never punishment," I said slowly. Lyra allowed the smallest trace of a smile. "The Queen rarely explains herself. She lets people discover the truth on their own." She turned to address the rest of the unit. "He stays." A murmur ran through the group, not disagreement, but something closer to quiet acceptance. One of the younger soldiers, a woman named Talia, stepped closer and offered me a canteen of water, the first gesture of kindness I had received since arriving. "You held the circle longer than any of the others before you," she said. "Some of them ran the moment the floor started shifting." "I did not have anywhere else to run," I said, taking the water gratefully. "The exits were sealed the entire time." "They are always sealed," she said simply. "It was never about the exits. It was about whether you would try to find one, instead of staying in the fight." I understood then that everything about this test had been designed to reveal character rather than skill. The shifting gravity, the closing circle, the impossible odds, none of it was meant to break me physically. It was meant to see what I would do when there was no clear way to win. Over the following weeks, I trained alongside the Talon unit, learning their formations, their signals, the quiet trust that held them together, even when nothing around them seemed stable. I discovered that their reputation for rejecting outsiders had less to do with cruelty and more to do with necessity. Out on the frontier, when missions went wrong and support was hours away, the only thing that kept a soldier alive was the certainty that the person beside them would not run. 3 months after that first day, I found myself flying alongside Lyra during a real mission, the kind where the stakes were far higher than any training exercise could recreate. Communication with the main fleet had been lost, and the plan we were following had already fallen apart twice. "Your Queen's punishment detail," Lyra said over the comms, her voice carrying the faint trace of humor I had grown used to hearing from her. "Still enjoying it?" "Every difficult minute of it," I said, and for the first time since arriving, I meant those words completely. "Good," she said, "because I already told her you are not being reassigned." I did not ask when she had made that decision. Some things do not need to be explained. I already knew, the same way I had known standing in that circle weeks earlier, that I had finally found the place where I belonged, surrounded not by punishment, but by people who had already decided I was one of them.